He's a real nowhere man, sitting in his nowhere land, making all his nowhere plans for nobody. Doesn't have a point of view.
All right, cool. All right. These are the Panda Podcasts. Yeah, welcome. My name is Michael Real. Starting off doing this whole thing. We got Julia, also known as
Alpha Nancy.
Alpha Nancy. I love it. Start off, where did you come up with this awesome name?
So I changed my music name at the beginning of 2024. And prior to that, my name had been Gal, like G-A-L. And it was fun at the time. Like I picked that name, I think, when I was 24. And I liked it because it was playful. It was kind of anonymous feeling. But as far as searching it on the internet, completely impossible to find my music.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it was pretty frustrating. So I had been wanting to change my music name. And at work, I have to spell my name phonetically over the phone. And I always say like A is an alpha, and my last name starts with N. So N is in Nancy, A is an alpha. And I just got used to saying it all the time.
Yeah.
So I decided to pick Alpha Nancy. It's still playful, but it's more specific. People can actually find my music. And then it's really fun when I'm at work and my assistant is on the phone saying this. She'll be like, A is an alpha, N is a Nancy. I'm like, yes.
Yes, I will. I like it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day when someone's like, oh, like the musician on the other line. But
That'd
yeah,
be pretty nice.
it has not happened.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not too far off, right?
Yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
I'm Alpha Nancy.
Yeah. You
So.
reached her.
You've reached her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Thanks.
So like what inspired you to, I guess, get into music, and like how's music, like the whole music journey started for you and everything?
It definitely started with my mom. She is a phenomenal musician. She is a jazz pianist. She's also a worship leader. And growing up, she would be booked all throughout California, and she would take me along with her. So
Gotcha.
we'd have road trips together, and in the car, she'd teach me how to harmonize, and oftentimes she would even grab me to go on stage with her. So it definitely started with my mom, and I still really look up to her with music. I ask for her opinion all the time, and I often ask her to play with me too. So she's done a lot of gigs with me. So yeah, so she's great. And she actually was the one who I shared my songs with first.
Okay.
So in college, I started writing my own songs, and I shared them with her, and she was like, Julia, these are really nice. Like, you should try and record these. So she had her friend from church record them for me, and she really got the ball rolling with me considering my own music as like something I want to work on, something I'm passionate about. Because before I shared them with her, I was like, oh, whatever,
Yeah.
I just didn't really take them very seriously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your music's definitely awesome. I've seen you perform, and it's great stuff. And so it's definitely good that you had that encouraging force to push you through it. I feel like us as a lot of artists, we kind of discredit ourselves a lot, and
Totally.
we kind of like, oh, it's not good enough, and it puts us in that shell of not getting out there. And so to have that driving force to get you there. So I mean, what is, I guess, some of the approaches that you take to writing your songs and then finally putting them and recording them and everything like that?
I normally have like a certain thought, kind of like the image you were sharing of like covering your scars with tattoos, like some sort of image in my head that I want to expand upon,
Okay.
that I start a song with. And it really depends on the song. Sometimes I sit down and I write the whole thing then and there. But a lot of times it takes me a lot longer than that. Like I still have songs I'm working on that I started when I was 18, and I'm just letting them evolve throughout my life. And maybe one day I'll consider them finished, but I try not to rush it
Gotcha.
because I want it to be very organic. I want it to feel very true and natural. And so I let them come out in their own time, I guess.
Yeah.
So with songwriting, I usually prefer to write by myself.
Yeah.
I like to just kind of like shut out the entire world, and I feel like I get in a bit of a trance when I'm writing a song. Like it's all I'm focused on. And I described this to you when I was doing the answers over email. But when I wrote Beautiful Sparrow, that song, like I was by myself all day at home and I started writing the song, and it just like it made me so sad to like put it all on paper and to like find the melody. Like it all just happened at once. And I was just in this fog all day. And then my friend came over that evening. We were going to watch a movie and go in the jacuzzi and just like have a fun girls' night. And she's like, "What is wrong with you?" Like I was like acting so sad and emotional and existential. I'm like, I don't know. Like sometimes when I'm get in the flow of songwriting, like I just kind of like tune everything else out. So that's how I like to do it because I want my songs to impact me emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I do like to collaborate with people, but it's not my primary
Yeah.
way of writing songs.
It's like you're putting your soul into that song, and it's like a connection to it. And pouring yourself into that, it feels great. It's like leaving that mark into that music and wherever you're at. Like I definitely can relate
Yeah,
and feel that. And so it's really cool to hear your perspective on that.
thanks. Yeah, I not all of my songs are autobiographical in any stretch, but I do think that my songs are like stories I write about feelings I have.
Mhm.
So the stories themselves may not be accurate to my life,
Yeah.
but it's based on a true feeling I have felt at some point.
Yeah.
And I want like I was a creative writing major in college, and we were always told to like churn out pages, write 10 pages a week, and it was a lot of like busybody writing work. Like
Yeah.
not that I didn't learn a lot, but I did feel like some of it was soulless in that like they wanted us to write things that were emotionally moving to the readers,
Yeah.
but for us were considered tasks.
Gotcha.
And I really didn't like the sanitization of that process. Like I want everything I write to impact me first before I expect it to impact someone else.
Do you feel like that help with your writing, or did it impact it at all? Or
The professors I had like were very successful, so I understand their business approach to writing and that like their agent expected them to have the book done by the end of the month. Like they had solid real world deadlines. So I understand that. But even at the time, when I was like 18, 19, I was like, that's not why I'm drawn to writing. I wanted to evoke something human in myself
Yeah.
that will connect with other people. I don't want it to be like something I've written to sell
yeah.
that maybe people will like, maybe they won't, but at the end of the day, like it didn't mean that much to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I have not been commercially successful in fiction or songwriting at this point in my life, but I do think I try and keep like a very organic approach to what I create.
I feel more confident in those aspects, where you're staying true to the human thing. And I think that's the more beautiful aspect, and where we need more of, rather than just trying to see what sells and what markets the best. I mean, yeah, you can do that, and it creates a lot of quote unquote successful people, but um, being able to expose and search for the ones that are staying true to the human link is what we need more of. It's it's a beautiful thing. Like, yes, we're in this generation of the AI as things, and I utilize AI tools to help with making things more efficient. But I think that's why we should have more human connections, is the beautiful things that still exist, is being able to expose why we're still human, like
Yeah.
we have such a beautiful way about us. Like I said, that link, why music is the way it is, why art is the way it is our expression of soul. And so you still holding true to that is going to make you successful. And wherever you go, like it doesn't matter necessarily how big it gets, but as long as you're shining the brightest version of you.
Oh, I love that.
So like your identity, I mean, like what I guess helped mold and shape your identity?
I think it's still being molded in shape, to be honest. As I get older, I tend to age myself prematurely. I feel like I have the soul of a 60-year-old woman, but um, I feel like as I worked through my 20s, that voice telling me to like create something other people will like or try and impress other people has really quieted and diminished. And I attribute a lot of that to my husband because he is his own unique person. He's very lovable and likable, but everyone who knows him is like he's his own individual. Like he doesn't do things to impress other people or to make people like him. Like he just does what he loves. Um, and I really fell in love with that about him. And I wanted to emulate that in my own life. So I think living side by side with him, I've been able to quiet that voice telling me to adapt myself for other people.
Mhm.
And my identity now, I would say, like, going back to what you just said of like trying to live the best version of yourself, regardless of who it reaches or what it achieves. I think that's what I'm really trying to do. Um,
That's awesome that you point out the version of your husband being strong in his force. Like, I feel so confident in relationships and partnerships that hold true to that. When you have any type of solidity where somebody's able to shine being the strongest version of himself, how it projects into it. When you have somebody being the strongest version of themselves, it it does something phenomenal. Like people being themselves and loving themselves and just knowing who they are, being next to that person is going to help you. And so like,
yeah, it's so inspiring. Yeah,
right?
sorry.
No. That's what I'm saying. Like, and so like you sharing that's awesome. I definitely, growing where I'm growing, I've seen that, and that's why I want to share people's stories is because somewhere along the way, more people are going to share that. So like you learned it from somebody, but you're now sharing it yourself.
Yeah, I think there's something really inspiring about integrity in someone else. Like, not just the fact that they're honest people, but that like the things they do are just true to their own nature. And oh, where was I going with this thought?
You have all the time in the world.
Yeah. um I was, I mean, not to get too psychoanalytical, but I was raised in a very Christian household. And I think a lot of women raised in that culture tend to be people pleasers. And that's something we have to work out of our system over time. And I've found that the people I'm drawn to, that I consider really good people, are not people pleasers. And they're not people who are trying to get me to hear what I want to hear, but they're living with truth and kindness. And that's something I've learned over time, is that I don't have to be pleasing to everyone. I don't have to give the answer everyone wants to hear, but I do have to give them honesty
Yep.
and kindness.
Absolutely. People pleasing. Oh man, that is such an interesting topic.
Disease.
It is. And it's a very it's actually very interesting that you use those words, people pleasing and kindness. It's such a fine line on the outside to understand the difference, I feel like. Like I said, not to go too deep into the psychoanalytical part, but like when somebody tries to see the difference between people, if you're being a people pleaser and just being straight kind, if you don't understand the difference, and it's interesting. It's very, very, very interesting. And so I definitely had to learn how to grow past people pleasing,
Yeah.
and growing past it and finding the development of the freedom behind nah, it's not. It's not fulfilling in any shape or form. I have to just stay true to myself and be okay with handling, being able to say no, being able to set boundaries, and still understanding that I have the integrity to say no and still be a great person.
Right. Yeah.
They're fine,
And also the knowledge that like setting a boundary for yourself is just as good for the other person as it is for you.
Absolutely. Like you can hold boundaries and still be a kind person.
Right.
It's such a great thing. And understanding when you can be a kind person, love yourself, and maintain boundaries, and the balance of it all, how fulfilling it is. And once going back to the beautiful thing that started all this, when you're true to yourself, how magnificent it is in reflecting and giving somebody else that magic. You know, when you're just so true to yourself, it starts to give back to other people around you. Just standing there being so solid to yourself starts to affect somebody else next to you.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Same.
So actually, that kind of says big things of how does that play into your music.
Absolutely. I think if you are being people pleasing when you write music, people can tell. I can tell when I listen to my older songs, some of them. And now I don't feel that way. Like when I write a song, I really have no expectations for it. Like I just want it to be something I enjoy. I want to challenge myself to make it as good as I can. But at the end of the day, I just want it to be something that I'm proud of.
Yes. Like you're actually like having, I guess, more fun with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And in a way, it's a privilege to not have commercial success because I don't have anybody's expectations on me. I don't have a label. I don't have like an audience of listeners who are used to one sound and don't want me to change it. You know, like I have total freedom in that. So, you know, at times it's discouraging for indie artists not to have an audience or not to have this like robust fan base, but I try and think of it as a privilege and exercise my complete creative freedom through it.
Absolutely. I feel, and I mean, true music appreciative people, you always hear them. They just like really love the music before it starts getting
Yeah.
commercial. They're like, oh man, this artist before this, and it's because they poured their heart into it. Like me, even me being the music person that I am, I've discovered a lot of great artists when they finally poured their soul into it. Like you hear such a difference when somebody's trying to perform for others versus when they're fed up
Yeah.
and they're just like, nah, this music's for me, you know. Like one that I was attest to is like Mac Miller. I kind of really didn't get his music at first because to me he was kind of just the fuckboy attitude. And I mean, you know, whatever, that's some people's jam. But like towards the end, I heard him like pouring his soul into his music, and I was just like, hold up, what is this? And I felt that, like we were talking about, that connection, that real like, man, this is soul music. Like this is like real stuff, and it made me want to connect. There was a song by, I had never in a million years thought I would listen to, Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Like, but he wrote this song Lonely that you could tell like this dude was just like feeling some type of way, and he poured him, man, and I felt it, and I was just like, whew, dude. And I feel like that's what the world, pause for a second and just go back to the roots, go back to what music really meant to you. Like there's this kid, oh man, I want to look up the artist name, but there's this kid, he's an 11-year-old kid, but he's talking about how his dad left him. And it's so real though. And you can hear it in his voice.
Wow.
Super passionate. And that's what I'm saying. I want to capture those moments where we're lost in what we're doing and we're passionate about what we're doing and expose that stuff. Give more of that, like you're saying, that indie side, that freedom that we have, because it really does. When we're lost inside the freedom of expression, it's such a beautiful thing. Like it's so beautiful, you know, like which for me, I get lost in the freedom of performing.
Hmm.
Like I love watching you perform. Tell me more about like how your performing has been going and like what you like to do when you perform.
Yeah, you know, it kind of all comes back to the same place in that, like, the types of gigs I've primarily done have been, you know, in the corner of a loud restaurant or bar. People are there to eat, catch up with their friends. You know, that's a great thing, but they're not necessarily there to listen to the music. And so it often just kind of just blends into the din of the restaurant. Um, and it just comes back to like doing my music for me.
Yeah.
And I've had times, especially starting out, where I was like, oh my gosh, like I must be terrible because people are not listening, you know? And I lived in Paris for a year when I was 20, how old was I? 23 to 24. And I would play in this restaurant, and we would call it Rue de Hell because it was like this tourist trap street. It's right next to Shakespeare and Company. Um, and so it was this really horrible touristy restaurant called Café de la Plage. Do not eat there. And the owner was such a jerk. And he would put me next to the piano. Like I honestly had maybe like 3 square feet. Like I had to like play my guitar vertically. Like it was horrible. And I would be right next to a dining couple.
Yeah.
And I was also next to the staircase to the bathroom. So it was just a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, what am I doing here? I got paid 20 euro an hour for a 3-hour set. Like it was just like horrific. I don't know why I took that gig, but I just was so eager for the chance to play that I would honestly take anything. And like through those gigs, I probably played there like 6 or 7 times, which baffles me now. But by doing that, like you're just kind of going through this like meditative process as you're performing in a bar where you're like, no one's listening, no one's listening, no one's listening. Oh, I messed up. No one can tell. And then you get to like, at first it's like a high energy and then a low energy because you're like, I've been playing for 2 hours and like, you know, who cares? No one cares. And then you get to a place of peace by the 3rd hour of like, you know what? Screw it. Like, I'm here with my guitar. I'm going to pretend like this is the last song I'll ever sing and just like really cherish each moment that I can sing into a microphone. And that was kind of the process. So I think now when I do play in bars, like I'm a little more gracious with the patrons of the restaurant. Like I know they're not there for music. Like this isn't a music venue. And just because they're involved in a conversation doesn't mean that they couldn't give a rat's ass about what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't say anything about my music.
Yeah.
So I have come to a place of peace with that. That being said, I think I'm pretty set with those types of gigs. Like I've done a lot of them. I've done them for not 10 years, but since 8 years now.
Okay.
And I think I'm okay to take a little break from it and focus more on recording. And also just honing my originals so that they're like ready to go if I do play a show. 'Cause I have 3 hours of originals and covers that I could flip out of my pocket and play, but I really want my originals to feel like very thought out and intentional when I perform them. So that's what I currently have a finger injury, so I can't play guitar.
What
but,
happened?
rock climbing. Yeah. It was honestly the lamest story. It's called a crimp. It's like a tiny little hold. And I was just going like this. That was it. And then it just popped. So that was the beginning of October. So yeah, I'm a shell of a woman now. It's been 3 months. So yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finger injuries are like such devastation to
Yeah.
artists.
It's like the tiniest little thing, and it's rocked my world because I can't play guitar, I can't rock climb, I can't pet my dogs with this hand. Yeah.
It's so real.
So real. Yeah. So, hopefully it heals soon. I don't know. We'll find out.
Is it bone or is it just like tendon?
I got an MRI. It's pulley. So I tore my pulley, and I went to a surgeon. He's like, immobilize it. I went to a occupational therapist. She said immobilize it. And then last week I was in Joshua Tree with some friends, and this guy who was very kind and lives in a van was like, it's probably because you don't have enough finger circulation. Like, you should work on your finger circulation. And since that guy said that, like, it's actually been feeling a lot better. So I'm like, who needs doctors? You just need kind people who live in vans.
Right?
Yeah.
You got that's why I don't know, man. Like I live in the mentality of you got to understand your body
Mm-hmm.
and you have to do research. You know, like Western, Eastern, world medicine. You know, like
Yeah.
I take a little bit of both. You know, I take my seizure medication, but I also do a lot of herbal stuff.
Mhm.
You know, like I don't just say, oh, this one way is the way of the world. I work at a hospital, but am I gonna do every single thing that my doctor? You know, like
Yeah. You have to trust your body.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I take fire cider for respiratory stuff because I see how beneficial it is. You know, like that stuff works amazing more than cough.
Fire starter?
Fire cider.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, so amazing. Oh yeah, I drink lighter fluid.
You are hardcore.
Just go for it. No, fire cider is so respiratory season is a real deal. Like my hospital, my ER is lit up. So all the respiratory diseases are coming through.
Oh shoot.
But fire cider is amazing. I have a great recipe. I'm out of it right now, but it's you start off with apple cider vinegar, add in like cayenne pepper, jalapenos, onion, rosemary, oregano, a bunch of great herbal
Sounds
stuff.
spicy.
It is. But you just take a shot of it every day.
Turmeric?
Yes, there's turmeric in there. Garlic. But you let it
Is it burnt
brew.
in your stomach?
No, actually it's not that bad.
Okay.
It's not too bad. You can take just a tablespoon. I take 2.5 at like a shot, an actual shot.
Mm-hmm.
Every day during respiratory season. I mean, I was fine. But it takes 4 to 6 weeks to brew a batch.
Oh.
Um,
That's cool.
yeah, and I like homemaking it because you can buy some, and I bought some, and I didn't like the bought stuff as much as
Yeah,
and
it's
that's that way.
expensive too.
Yeah, the homemade stuff was, and I love the taste of the homemade stuff. There's like orange, lemon. It was, I can send you the recipe, but like,
Cool.
yeah, it was awesome. I'm telling you, like, anytime I felt like a little bit of like gone.
Yeah.
2 days gone.
Oh,
like
wow, that's
everything.
crazy.
It was awesome.
I recently tried to make my own cleaner because we have a ton of citronella growing.
Yeah.
And the recipe said to like boil it in olive oil.
Yeah. That sounds.
It's like my husband's very clean. It was his worst nightmare. I was just like spraying olive oil all over our counter. So I don't know about that homebrewed stuff.
Yeah,
It's just
that's what I'm saying. You got you got to understand. You got to look, luckily for me, like I've had pretty extensive experience with a lot of different realms. So like, and being on that is where I say I had the blessings of, grateful for the amounts of injuries that I've gone through, which is a weird twist on the series of unfortunate events that I've gone through in my life. But genuinely, I've reached a place in my life where I'm very grateful, because I've learned so much about nutrition, about health, about how the body works.
That's
and now I want to share that information.
now you'll take it to your career.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like I do, like I see kids with seizures all the time. And I look at them, I'm like, hey, I know it's tough, man. I know it's really rough. And I look at their parents and I'm just like, I know it's hard, but there's hope. Like you see me, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm chilling. I made it through. Like there's somewhere along hope. There's some type of hope out there. Like like just keep going for it. And don't give up. Like, and at the end of the day, that's where all this podcast stuff and everything that I have a vision for is just giving people hope.
Yeah.
Like
No, that's everything.
yeah.
Hope and gratitude.
Yeah. What are some like so like you said you're gonna take a break from doing live music and you wanna focus more on recording, like well, yeah, what are some of the goals that you have for your music?
I mean, I've been sitting on dozens of songs for years and they're ready, and I feel like by the time I actually get them recorded and produced, I feel like they're from a different era of my life. So there's this huge lag time. And a lot of that is because I've been working full time and I love to travel. Like I have a very full life. So I don't think my music always gets the amount of time I want it to.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to be a little more self-sufficient with recording, and I worked last year to start producing my own songs.
Okay.
And they're fairly simple. Like I didn't do anything crazy, but I was still really proud of myself for like doing the start to finish process. Um, I'm not someone who really tunnels into a subject. Like I've been told I'm a horizontal learner, which means I like to learn multiple different things in a more superficial level. Some people are vertical learners, where if they're music producers, often they learn everything about different plugins and pedals and all, and that is not me at all. I go solely based on intuition.
Yeah.
I'll try two things, be like, I like that, let's go. Like, let's keep doing it. Like, I just don't have the interest or the time of day to really learn everything there is to know about producing. I don't find that to be the most gratifying part of making music at this point. Maybe if I knew more, I would. So I did a 3-song EP last October, and I did 3 Beatles covers.
Okay.
And that was kind of a gift to one of my friends from college. She's like a huge Beatles fanatic, and everyone knows she like knows the most about the Beatles. And in college, we were able to actually go to Abbey Road together and take the photo. And yeah, no, she's awesome. And she took me to see Ringo Starr in college too. So yeah, I just always, when I think of the Beatles, I think of her.
That's cool.
And it was her birthday, October 9th. She shares a birthday with John Lennon.
Oh.
So I thought, what a perfect way to, celebrate both these people. So I did 3 Beatles covers, and I worked with Andrew Sandoval, Swing Auditorium, on Nowhere Man. We recorded that in one sitting together. So that was a good project for me. And then I did a Christmas song. I covered Jingle Bells in French, so it's called Vive le Vent. And
That's pretty dope.
yeah, so I'm working on, butchering other people's songs, and then eventually I'll start butchering my own with producing, which I don't know why I thought it was okay to like tackle the Beatles before tackling my own music. But yeah, so all that said, I'm trying to record my own stuff, and I want to give it my all. I think in the past, I haven't been very sure of myself when it comes to being in the studio, of what background vocals I want to hear, what musical elements. Like part of me didn't think it through all the way, and another part just wasn't confident in my own intuition there. So with my next songs, I really want to access whatever I can within myself and try and make them as good as I can, and really try.
Okay.
And then involve other people and be like, what do you hear here? What is it missing? And, I want to trust my own judgment on the outset and then involve the people I trust.
Perfect. I love hearing that. What's you were saying like you love to travel and everything like that. Like, yeah, what's life outside of music like?
Yeah. So we're going to Portugal this year.
What?
Yeah, we just booked our flights. I've never been to Portugal.
That's so dope.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I've always loved to travel ever since I always wanted to travel growing up. And then I was able to in college. I studied abroad. And ever since I did that, it's been a huge part of my life. So I lived in London for a year in college. And then I lived in India the year I graduated college. I lived there for a year. And then I moved to France the year after that. So, like, being global has been a big priority for me. And my husband, conversely, like, he had never really traveled before we got married. And we went to Sicily together on our honeymoon. And it just kind of like ignited that travel bug for him.
Sure.
So now he's just as excited as I am to like plan a trip or something. So that's really special to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we love to travel. We rock climb. Right now, I'm just like the belay partner because I can't climb with my finger.
Yeah.
I love to craft. I'm like not a gifted artist like you. Like I don't draw very well, but I love to like make things with my hands. So I like to knit. I've been making Valentine's garlands for our office lately. So yeah, I like to just keep busy. I get really restless if we're watching TV. So like I have to be doing something with my hands.
It is dope. I crochet.
Nice. What do you crochet?
I started off, what got me into crocheting was when I was snowboarding, I used to crochet beanies. So that's what started it.
Yep.
But actually, I haven't crocheted in forever. I have a blanket that's currently a big scarf because
Yes. Yeah. No, I
I
have a lot of semi-abandoned projects. So
want to. It's like I really want to have this be like the family blanket.
yeah.
So, but it's epically big. It's made for the Cali King, and like it's like
Yeah, that would
super
take me a
big,
lifetime.
but it's only like this wide right
Yeah.
now. So that's like my biggest abandoned project. That's about it.
That's cool. And I also love to read and write also. So reading is a huge part of.
What are you reading right now?
I am reading The War Below. I don't normally go for science books, but this one seemed very topical and interesting. But it's about mining for like lithium and other metals we need for electric vehicles and so forth.
That's pretty cool.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I just read All About Love by Bell Hooks, which you would probably really enjoy.
Yeah.
Just defining love and explaining why it's lacking in our modern society. And
I'll definitely have to check that out.
yeah, I feel like the first 50% were really solid.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I lost my mojo halfway through or if it wasn't.
It happens all the times. Happens all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's good.
I've been doing my best to get back into reading, and yeah, I used to be such an avid reader as a kid. Not anymore. I can say it's a little bit harder these days. Like I think it's the attention span for sure. Like I'm like I need to be doing other stuff, but like I do want to be better at it. So,
Yeah, I read in the morning before I go to work. So while I drink my coffee, I'll read for like 30 minutes and then at night before I go to bed.
Gotcha.
But I do have a hard time spending the daylight hours sitting down and reading,
So you do more of the knitting and everything like that? Or?
Knitting, I exclusively do for watching TV.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then my husband is a crazy gardener. So
yeah, I've been seeing your guys' like garden stuff. That's epic.
So our house is next to a dirt lot, and the company that owns it is just using it as a fire road, like the road next to it. And so there's no plans for this lot. So he has landscaped it, and he has alerts on his phone for free cacti and all this stuff. So yeah, he has more energy than anyone I've ever met, but he has landscaped it, and it's enormous. So that's fun. I try and walk through it every morning before work,
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, it's nice.
So are you posting anything soon as far as new music or anything like that?
There is a song that's nearly finished, and I mentioned it in our emails, but it's called Cradle Me.
Okay.
And I started it when I was living in London when I was 19. and I wrote the chorus of it, but I never liked the verses I wrote initially, so I never did anything with it. I just kind of let it sit. But I always loved the chorus.
Yeah.
And then about a year ago, I rewrote it, just the verses, and I added a different ending. I was like, okay, we did it.
Yeah.
This is it. This is what I was trying to say in my song. And so my friend Mary Ives, she's been my best friend since I was like 2, she is producing it right now. And so it's almost done. So that'll be out fairly soon. And then we have another song called Landlord, which is probably one of my favorites that I've written.
All right.
And that's a newer one too, so it doesn't feel completely aged to me. That one is also in the works. Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
and then I'm trying to, while I'm waiting for those ones to be finished up, work on my more acoustic songs that don't really need as much involvement and get those ready to go. So I would love to have an album out this year, but I'll probably do one single at a time until
Sounds good.
it's done.
That's kind of the way of things now is
Give
it's-
each song its moment.
yeah, get a little leaks and teasers and everything like that. And so
Yeah.
how do we find you? Like what platforms are you on and all that good stuff?
I'm on all the platforms, I think. I don't know. Alpha Nancy.
Okay.
I think I'm the one and only so far.
Let's
Which was funny. When I changed my name to Gal, like I couldn't find any other gals. I was like, oh wow, I can't believe no one has this. And then there were like 1,000 like within a year. So
bummer.
I think I'm the only Alpha Nancy.
Well, yeah.
And I have 6 songs out
Yeah.
that I released last year. So
Cool.
that was the most I've ever done in 1 year. So
Cool.
I'm stoked about that.
Well, and you're on Spotify?
Oh yeah, I'm on Spotify.
Are you
You're
on
Spotify, but I'm on Spotify.
And Apple Music too?
Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. Well, we'll keep that searching on you. And like I said, we'll broadcast you and all that good stuff. And
Cool.
yeah, we'll look forward to all the good stuff. I'm glad that we had you on
Yeah,
here.
me too. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. And look forward to more coming out there. And we look forward to hearing more from Alpha Nancy. Good old Julia. You guys take care. Yeah.
Making all his nowhere.